Penguin Random House Canada presents The Wife's Tale by Lansens. Read for you by Justine, Eyre.
A pretty face. Alone in the evenings, when the light had drained from the slate roof of her small rural home, and when her husband was working late, Mary Gooch would perform a striptease for the stars at the open bedroom window, shifting out of rumpled bottoms, slipping off blousy top, liberating breasts, peeling panties, her creamy flesh spilling forth until she was completely, exquisitely, nude. In the darkness, she'd beg her lover, the wind, to ravish her until she needed to grasp the sill for support. Then, inhaling the night like a post-coital cigarette, Mary would turn to face the mirror, who'd been watching all along. The mirror held the image Mary Gooch knew as herself, a 43-year-old brunette, standing 5.5 feet tall, so gilded with fat that hardly a bone from her skeleton could insinuate itself in her reflection. No hint of clavicle, no suggestion of scapula, no jag in her jaw, no scallop in her knee, no crest of ilium, no crook of knuckle, not a phalange in the smallest of her fingers, and no cords of muscle either, as if she were enrobed by a subcutaneous duvet. Mary remembered when she was 9 years old, stepping off the scale in Dr. Ruttle's office and hearing him whisper the word to her slight mother, Irma. It was an unfamiliar word, but one which she understood in context to the fairy tale world. Obese. There were witches and warlocks, so must there be ogres and obese. Little Big Mary hadn't been confused by the prognosis. It made sense to her child's mind that her body had become an outward manifestation of the starving animal from her gut. Such a pretty face. That's what people always said. When she was a child, they made the comment to her mother with tisking pity or stern reproach, depending on their individual natures. As she grew, the pitying, reproving people made the comment directly to Mary. Such a pretty face. Implied was the disgrace of her voluminous body, the squander of her green eyes and bow lips, her aquiline nose and deep cleft chin, and her soft skin, like risen dough, with no worry lines to speak of, which was remarkable because when she wasn't eating, that's what Mary Gooch did. She worried about what she would eat and what she would not eat, when and where she would or wouldn't. She worried because she had too much or not nearly enough. She worried about hypertension, type 2 diabetes, atherosclerosis, heart attack, stroke, osteoarthritis, the contempt of strangers, the mouths of babes, sudden death, protracted death. She worried all the more because all the worry made her sleepless, and in her dreamless hours hosted more worries about her husband Gooch and the approach of their silver anniversary, about her menial job at Raymond Russell Drugstore, and about her list, which she imagined not as things to do, but things left undone. Weight is only numbers on a scale, she told herself, and her mirror just another point of view. Squinting at her naked reflection when the moon was waxing and the angle just right, Mary Gooch saw beauty in the poetry of her contours, in the expressive, expansive, edible flesh, and understood why an artist sketching nudes might find appealing the mountainous gut and favor the pocked shore of sloping thigh and enjoy the depth and shadow of pendulous breasts and multiple chins. A shape, ample and sensuous, like the huge round vase handed down on the Brodie side of the family, in which she arranged her ditch lilies in the spring, or like the dunes of virgin snow on the hills beyond her home outside of small-town Leaford. Mary wished to be a rebel from the tyranny of beauty, but was instead a devotee, coveting its currency, devouring images in glossy magazines and broadcast TV, especially the kind that chronicled the lives of the rich and famous. Mary lingered over the body shots, outlining with her fingertips, like an appreciative lover, the rock-hard abdominals and concrete glutes, sinewy arms and pumped deltoids, so daring on a woman, coltish legs, wasp waist, swan's neck, lion's mane, cat's eyes. Mary accepted the supremacy of beauty and could not deny complicity in the waste of her own. It was often an unbearable burden for Mary Gooch to carry both her significant weight and the responsibility for it, and she naturally sought to blame. The media was her target, just as it was another of her addictions. Mary would tear through the pages of her glossy magazines, gratified by the celebrity cellulite, horrified by the gorgeous anorexics, noting the fall must-haves, sneering with the critics about fashion disasters, then realize she'd eaten a quart of premium ice cream, coerced by the advertisement beneath the article about the TV cutie with poor taste in men. Mary knew it was all the media's fault, but finger-pointing was too much exercise, and she couldn't sustain the blame for long, especially since she was so often confronted by the stupid genius of just saying no. Jimmy Gooch, Mary's husband of nearly 25 years, read Time and Newsweek and Scientific American and The Atlantic and National Geographic. He watched CNN even when America was not on red alert, and cable talk shows with clever panelists who laughed when nothing was funny. With Gooch working late most evenings and busy playing golf on the weekends, Mary reckoned they were down to spending only a handful of waking hours a week together. She wished to relieve the silence between them, but didn't share Gooch's passion for politics and was woefully uninformed about the details of the war in Iraq. The couple sometimes found common ground in musing on the vagaries of human nature. "Read the essay at the back," Gooch had said recently, tapping her on the head with a rolled-up magazine, a gesture she charged was aggressive, but he argued playful. The article spoke of the ills of North American culture, the mistaking of acquisition for success, gluttony for fulfillment. Gooch clearly meant for Mary to draw a comparison with her own indulgence, and she did. But the piece was provocative in its own right, posing the question, are people generally happier now, with instant access and quick fixes and thousands of channels and brands to choose from, than they were before the Industrial Revolution? Mary instantly decided no. In fact, Mary wondered if the opposite were true, that in the hard Scrabble life of her pioneering ancestors, whose singularity of purpose was clear, there was simply no time to ponder happiness. Chop wood, carry water. It was impossible to imagine that the early Brodies, who'd cleared Leaford from the Burger King to the gas station, had ever endured a sleepless night. Having read enough magazines and having spent hours lurking in the self-help section, Mary Gooch knew that she wasn't alone in her morbid obesity or her abstract malaise. Symptoms of despair were everywhere, and formulas for success within her grasp. A person could get a good night's sleep and wake refreshed, shed unwanted pounds without dieting, make dinners for 6 in 20 minutes or less, rekindle sexual passion, and achieve 5 personal goals by the end of the month. A person could. But in spite of the step-by-step instructions, Mary could not. The secret remained classified. She appeared to be missing some key ingredient, something simple and elusive, like honesty. Mary was raised without religion, but instinctively drew a separation between her spirit and body. Her spirit had no gravitational pull. Her body weighed 302 of Earth's pounds, the 2 pounds significant because she'd once vowed that she'd kill herself if she got up beyond 300. Another promise broken. Further recrimination. The truth of what drove her hunger was as present and mysterious as anyone's God. Certainly grief fed the beast, and with her encroaching middle age came more and greater opportunities for it. Every passage, but particularly the corporeal kind, further embellished Mary Gooch. 30 pounds for her mother, accumulated over many months, years ago, although Irma was not actually deceased. The babies, so long ago, added 15 and 20 pounds respectively. Then it was the 10 when her father died in the spring, and another 10 with Mr. Barclay in the summer. Mary felt vaguely charitable assigning the poundage to her loved ones, in the same way she was mildly comforted by calculating her load in UK stones rather than
Sample complete. Ready to continue?